My name is Jasper. I'm an Australian veterinarian. For the last 6 months, I've been working in the Amazon rainforest in South America. The following video is a short documentary detailing the effects of the illegal wildlife trade as of 2025. Sorry.
Shut.
I feel like people want to know more about this elusive concept of the illegal wildlife trade. For me, I've sort of come to the realization it's not so much this entity, evil, these people that are trying to do harm, hunting animals out in the jungle. It's actually the general public, people who want to have animals as pets, probably have good intentions when it comes to owning these animals. Mostly like people who maybe aren't so in the know of the implications of owning these animals.
I think you're right on that. It is very difficult to sort of characterize the illegal wildlife trade, and it's difficult for us to actually study this, to have a lot of information, a lot of statistics about the trade, simply because it is illegal. It's very much, under the table, dangerous to go and, start to try to figure these things out because there's a lot of criminal networks that are involved. In Ecuador, in this part of the Amazon where we are, there's of course a big local trade, that's sort of disorganized. Maybe, some guy goes out and hunts something for his dinner and finds a baby animal and takes that back and sells it somewhere very locally. And then at the other end of the spectrum, there are these, big international networks that do involve, lots of professional hunters selling the animals to middlemen who then, forge documents in order to export these things to Europe, to Asia, to wherever. So it runs a huge gamut of, very local, very disorganized to very highly organized. I think the big thing at the end is, a lot of people who bring in these animals for pets, they don't understand how difficult it is, number one, to take care of these animals. They don't understand that these animals, in most cases, they're not domesticatable in the way that dogs and cats and some other animals have been over the years. When they're a baby, you can have it in your house. When they get older, they start to create huge messes. They rip things up. They, become very aggressive. They, of course, can spread disease as well. People don't take these things in because they're evil, because they do love the animals. They think they're charismatic and they want to have this animal as a pet, but they don't know what these downsides are. It's not the case typically that the police are going in and doing some big major SWAT team operation to confiscate these animals. It's usually people are turning their animals over to the police, or in a lot of cases too, people simply, open the door and say they throw the animal out because they don't want it anymore. An animal is used to humans. Once it loses its fear of humans, then it becomes very, very difficult to get these animals back into the wild, to restore some kind of autonomous life to these animals is almost impossible. It's the sad thing. It's a completely wasteful thing, There's no reason for people to have these things as a pet.
Thank you.
Mi nombre es Remigio Canelos. Soy el fundador del Centro de Rescate de Animales Víctimas de Tráfico, que estamos trabajando entre 90 y 94 hasta hoy día. En estos días todavía existe tráfico ilegal de especies. Digamos, cuando nosotros iniciamos, en ese tiempo se veía muy a la vista, digamos. Se podía ver en las ciudades jaulitas pequeñas donde tenían enjaulados los animales para poder vender. Pero hoy en día no se ve estas cosas, pero sí se trafica, a lo mejor no la misma cantidad, en pocos, pero con mucho cuidado. Digamos, estos traficantes lo esconden bien o se escapan de la policía, digamos, en sitios donde que no está la policía. Entonces por ahí todavía existe el tráfico de especies. O sea, la gente traficando, digamos, no hay como que no hay alguien que lo defiende a los especies, ¿no? Digamos, hay gente que lo cazan para comer, hay gente que los cogen para hacer negocio. Cuando veías en los buses la gente cargando su loro, su mono, su cualquier especie, ¿no? Entonces, eso nos motivó mucho para hacer este centro. Primero teníamos que analizar si en esta área de la provincia de Napo existe un centro de rescate animal. No existía. En ese tiempo era casi el primer centro de rescate de animales.
Hola, Sebas.
Sí, es ketamine.
Yep, this is ketamine. The new Kawati has successfully gone through the isolation period. We're going to put her next to another Kawati called Kakalaka and see if they get along. We've dewormed her. The only sort of abnormality is her back right leg is a little lame. Both have histories of being pets, don't really have those natural instincts that have been developed yet.
Now you want coffee? 0.4, right?
0.4, yeah. He's K-holing, probably having a mad time. It's going crazy. He's never seen another Kawati. I doubt she has as well. Adam and Eve. New enclosure.
This.
Right, you got it?
Yeah. And be careful, sometimes Kakalaka jumps.
Difficulties of releasing. Why can't we just get these animals, we just release them?
Yeah. The best thing that we can always do is to release these animals back into the wild, but in many cases it's simply not possible for us to do that, and this can be for a number of reasons. They do suffer from a lot of physical damages which limit their ability to survive in the wild. The other side of the issue is some of the mental problems that these animals develop when they are held in close human captivity for a number of years. They lose their fear of humans, and then if we release them back into the wild, they simply return to where the humans are. They know that humans are an easy source of food. They're not afraid that the humans are going to shoot them. That wildlife conflict cannot have these dangerous situations. It's extremely dangerous to release these animals because once they lose their fear of humans, they always go back to people's farms. They start killing chickens, they start killing pigs, and then farmers, more often than not, they're just going to shoot that animal because they see it's a nuisance, it's hurting their income if they want to sell those pigs. That's really the major issue.
gorgeous.
She's very bad to hunting, and she needs to put very near to the mouth to catch.
Okay.
It's the first time she eats in 2.5 weeks. You want to put more near? Oh fuck. She's very hungry.
So you have these like threatened animals, endangered. Why don't we just breed all of them? Try to breed as many as we can. Are there any limitations to this?
So it is illegal for us to actually have the animals reproduce unless we do have a viable reintroduction program for these species. A formal plan that the authorities need to have an understanding of so that we can carry those things out as well. So in terms of releasing animals, we always need to have permission from the authorities here in Ecuador. The jurisdiction of all of these animals is underneath the Ministry of the Environment. And there's a number of things that they have us consider before trying to release an animal. We do have to go through health checks for a number of the animals. These tests actually aren't really available anywhere locally here. But we also have woolly monkeys, which is an endangered species as well. However, the issue with them is that they are more susceptible here at the center for whatever reason to diseases, intestinal parasites. There's no established groups of woolly monkeys here in the wild, so these are social animals. No, we can't just release a baby monkey. It has to be released with a group of other monkeys. Tapirs is another threatened species that we have here, but we actually had to stop that program because the tapirs actually haven't really dispersed far out into the forest. And what that means is that we already now have a very large population of tapirs actually living here locally around the center, and they're quite territorial. For some of the more threatened species, for example the spider monkeys, we do have an active breeding program. We focus specifically on the spider monkeys because it has worked very well for us. We know that they reproduce very well in captivity and that can happen.
Ciao. Gracias. Is that a spider web?
Guante mejor. Acá abajo. Yes. Ahí sí. I think it's for friction.
You give some antibiotics, I think, and it does look swollen here, but it's not broken. Antibiotic. And this one, anti-inflammatory. We just fixed up the tail a little bit. Some of the tissue was decaying. Wasn't getting enough blood supply because some of the bone was exposed. She ended up biting it and exposing the tip of her tail. So we removed it. Quick little dental. Yeah, nice. so high. Had some ketamine, a little bit of ACE, promazine, diazepam, and xylazine. So I think big question that a lot of people would want to know is, why are these animals even going extinct in the first place?
The biggest underlying factor seems to be for all of these things is simply habitat loss. So this is the conversion of the natural forest to other land uses, mainly large-scale agriculture, which have started to take off in the last 3 or 4 decades. The biggest driver throughout the Amazon, of course, is the conversion of forests to pasture lands for cattle. Illegal mining is another thing that's starting to take off in more recent years as well. That also causes some forests to be eliminated, but also introduces a lot of pollutants into the environment, heavy toxic metals such as mercury, other things that are used to separate gold from other things. The other thing too, of course, is the hunting as well, specifically hunting for the illegal pet trade. Again, it's extremely difficult for us to study the illegal pet trade simply because it is illegal, it's dangerous to study. There's been a few studies that are estimating, for example, the amount of primates which are being illegally traded, but these things are probably vast underestimations of the total impact. If you want to hunt a baby monkey, you have to kill the mother monkey. That's the only way you can take a baby monkey away. Typically, because they live in very tight social groups, you're having to kill a lot more monkeys within that group as well. That type of damage is very, very poorly understood, but certainly is happening at a much larger extent than any statistics that we currently have would suggest.
I think a lot of people, one, they don't know about what's going on here. Two, I feel like a lot of people would genuinely want to help, but just don't know how. There are a lot of these multifaceted threats, What do you think that people can do to try to actually help?
Obviously, the first one is to not buy a monkey, to understand that these things are problematic, to spread the word amongst people. If you hear that people are wanting to buy an exotic animal, that they have these things, to kind of spread the word, to educate these people on what some of the issues are. The other thing, always paying attention to your consumption habits. If you are somebody who eats meat, pay attention to where that comes from. If it comes from, a place that isn't, being held accountable for the amount of forest that they're cutting down, then this is something you should certainly avoid. Same thing with gold. Gold is the other big product being produced in the Amazon now, so pay attention to where your gold is coming from. Oil consumption, that's another one. There's a lot of gas companies that are now sourcing their products from the Amazon basin as well. And then if you want to have a more direct impact of coming to the Amazon and volunteering for some type of conservation project is something that I think a lot of people can do and a lot of people can benefit from. They can start to see these things with their own eyes, and that makes them more likely, much more attached to the issues, and they can start to spread those educational messages even better.
Digamos, aquí el tráfico de especies no se ha parado, aunque yo pensé que algún día, si la policía o el Ministerio del Ambiente hace más controles, iba a terminar algún día este tráfico de especies, pero pareciera que estamos lejos que esto se va a terminar. Es en baja, pero sí sigue saliendo especies, entonces por eso seguramente vamos a necesitar todavía mucho apoyo de diferentes personas que quieran apoyar a este noble proyecto que tenemos como el Amazónico, como el Centro de Rescate de Animales Amazónico.
We dedicate ourselves to rescue wild animals who are being mistreated, but we have learned that is one thing that is really the best we can do for these animals, and this is preventing them from coming here in the first place. Because the truth is that once an animal is here, anything we can do with all our best intentions is very little compared to the damage that is already done. Wild animals are not pets, that they belong in the wild. Hope is that with the help of many people, maybe someday the cages here will be empty, because we understand that they need to be free. Nobody needs to be in a cage.
Why doesn't it do the... what is it blood? Like...
So what is this?
It's guava.
Guava.
It's one kind of fruit.
Oh, yeah.
When you eat it.
bro. Damn. Rip. Yo. Oh my god, that does not look real. God.